The world held its breath as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin descended onto the lunar surface for the very first time. Black and white televisions broadcasted grainy images straight from the moon. Hundreds of millions watched in real time what seemed like the pinnacle of human achievement. But something happened. 2 minutes of silence. 2 inaudible words. 2 minutes that changed everything. "Houston, this is the Eagle. We have a situation." The supposed transmission failure was logged at 2:39 Universal Time Coordinated. Technicians claimed interference. NASA's official statement: temporary signal loss due to lunar rotation. But years later, documents leaked by a retired Apollo mission operator told a different story. His name was Carl Winthrop. He died in 2002. Before his death, he mailed a letter to an investigative journalist containing copies of notes taken on the day of the lunar landing. In his own words, "During those 2 silent minutes, Armstrong wasn't just walking. He was reporting something. Something moving near the lunar module. His voice was shaking. He kept repeating, 'They're watching us. They're aligned at the edge of the crater. And they're not human.'" The journalist, whose identity remains unknown, published excerpts from the letter. He was discredited, accused of spreading fake news. The story died, publicly. But inside NASA, it ignited a fire. In 2006, a document classified as cosmic level, restricted access to the Office of Space anomalies surfaced on dark web forums. The file, known as Sigma Tau 11, made direct reference to the Apollo 11 mission and included coded terms such as eclipsed entity, unidentified intelligent formation, UIF, protocol silence. 3. This protocol allegedly authorized the immediate cut of public transmissions if anything outside human scope was detected during a mission, not for safety, but to control the global narrative. Armstrong never publicly spoke about the silence. But during a lecture in Argentina in 1994, one of his phrases sounded oddly out of place. "There are great truths yet to be revealed. Layers of protection that prevent humanity from understanding its true place in the cosmos." It felt like a warning. Vault 8 and the glass tape. At NASA headquarters in Houston, in the basement, there's an unlisted sector. Vault 8. According to former employees, it houses recordings on Betamax tapes and a rare type of glass optical tape, resistant to time and radiation. One of those files is said to be the unedited Apollo 11 footage, including the lost 2 minutes. Rumor has it a copy was made and stored in Warehouse 11 of the U.S. Space Force in Colorado Springs, under military guard. No civilian has ever accessed it. But in 2018, a former Boeing contractor, who worked on lunar mission data integration, leaked an encrypted message to the press which, once decoded, read, "The tape shows silhouettes, tall, motionless. The reflection on the helmets reveals Armstrong and Aldrin saw them. But NASA erased them. Literally. They overlaid false footage on the real 2 minutes. No official confirmation was ever given. NASA denies everything. Always has. But one long-forgotten detail resurfaced. During the official transmission, a strange noise was heard, a kind of echo or whisper in the background that no engineer could explain. A frequency outside the expected range. Independent researchers analyzed the noise. And though the audio spectrum was damaged, a voice-like sequence seemed to emerge. Slowed down, it sounded like, "They must not stay." No one knows for sure what it meant. But after Apollo 11's return, lunar missions began to lose priority. And in 1972, they were abruptly shut down. Officially, due to budget cuts. Unofficially, by higher order. The order not to return. It all began with an anomaly. In September 1983, the Pioneer 10 probe, on its path toward the edge of the solar system, picked up an unusual electromagnetic emission coming from the direction of Jupiter. It wasn't static. It wasn't natural. It had patterns. And it pulsed in binary sequence. Almost no one ever heard about it. Officially, the transmission was classified as stellar interference. But behind the scenes, NASA scientists activated a rarely used protocol, Omega Order 5, a warning reserved for contacts of a non-conventional nature. The following week, a top-secret mission was authorized. An unregistered Air Force module was launched into Earth orbit with a single function: intercept whatever was coming from Jupiter. And yes, something was coming. The return of something that was never ours. 3 months later, on a freezing night, an unidentified object quietly entered Earth's atmosphere. There was no visible trail, no burn-up, no public alert. It didn't crash. It landed, as if it knew exactly where it was supposed to go. It was recovered in the Nevada desert and transported under maximum security to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, in Ohio. There, it was locked away in an area the world knows only through rumor: Hangar 18. Officially, the hangar doesn't exist. But financial records show that between 1984 and 1989, millions of dollars were allocated to subterranean biotechnological containment infrastructure. No civil project was built during that period. No known research. Nothing came out. Nothing went in. Nothing. Except the Jupiter object. Shape, matter, and the pulse. According to leaked accounts from one of the engineers who worked inside the hangar, who disappeared in 1997, the object was approximately 4 meters in diameter, with a polished metallic surface. But instead of reflecting light, it absorbed it. There were no screws, no seams, no windows, no panels. It was as if it had been sculpted from a single piece, or had grown. Even stranger, when placed inside a pressurized chamber, it emitted a pulse. Not of light, not of sound, but of mental pressure. Technicians reported migraines, nausea, visual hallucinations. One of them collapsed into seizures, screaming, "It's inside me! It's digging!" The object seemed alive. Or worse, aware. Spectrometry tests showed a chemical composition never before recorded. One of the elements had an atomic weight of 313, a value that does not exist on the periodic table. The scientific community never knew, and could never know. Every mention was buried under tons of military secrecy. Until, in 1992, a base employee, identified only as MD, sent a letter to a retired physics professor at Yale. Its contents were devastating. They think it's a craft. But they're wrong. It's a sensor. An eye. It wasn't sent to explore, but to watch. And now that it's been touched, they know where we are. Silent consequences. After the discovery, reports of triangular-shaped craft flying near military installations began to multiply. Military satellites were reprogrammed. NORAD quietly elevated its alert status in 1994, something that only happens under first-order strategic threats. And NASA. They launched a series of scientific missions to Jupiter and its surroundings. Galileo, Cassini, Juno. But among insiders, a different name was whispered. Project Cerberus. A classified mission, conducted from a private orbital station, aimed at deploying deep scanning probes into Jupiter's moons, especially Europa. Not to study ice, but to search for underground structures. To this day, portions of the raw images from Europa and Ganymede remain under processing, according to NASA's website. But insiders insist something was found. Something directly linked to the object stored in Hangar 18. Then came the silence. In 2003, the object was relocated. Destination: unknown. Since then, nothing more has been said. But those who saw it never forgot. In 2009, during a private lecture at Caltech, a visibly shaken scientist declared, "The scariest thing isn't that they're coming. It's knowing they've already been here." The name that didn't exist. For decades, rumors of an ultra-secret American project circulated among ufologists, conspiracy theorists, and intelligence defectors. Its name was whispered like a forbidden code: Project Black Aurora. It was said to be an advanced propulsion program, capable of sending crafts beyond the moon's orbit, using a technology that wasn't invented, but recovered. Official project documents were never found. But in 2001, during structural renovations in the basement of the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, an uncatalogued box was discovered. No label, just a tag: Return Prohibited, BX A113. Inside, reports: thermal images, and a list of names. All marked as Kia, killed in action. Except one, annotated in red. Returned. Level 7. The Phantom Mission. In 1997, under the cover of an atmospheric experiment, NASA launched a space module with no public transmission. No reporters. No civilian satellites tracked it. It was as if it never happened. 12 crew members. But they weren't ordinary astronauts. They were ex-military operatives, theoretical physicists, and dimensional engineering specialists. Each had signed clauses officially severing their national identities. Their records were erased. The mission's destination, Delta 6 subspatial region, an obscure term, described in technical documents as a stationary gravitational anomaly in Earth's upper orbit, possibly an interdimensional vortex. In simple terms, a tear in the fabric of reality. The return of the man called Zero. After 73 days with no contact, NASA declared the mission lost. All presumed dead. But 7 months later, a weak, encoded signal was picked up by a listening station in Alaska. It contained a call sign, Z01, the code assigned to one of the crew members. His real name was never revealed. 2 days after the signal, an object was detected re-entering Earth's atmosphere. No fuel, no control, no thermal signature. It was a containment capsule. Inside, a man alive, or something close to it. He was immediately taken to the Dulce Underground Medical Facility, New Mexico. No family was notified. No media coverage. He was officially registered by his call sign, Zero. He didn't speak for 18 days. Then, he said only one sentence. We crossed through, but we were not alone. The psychological aftermath. Zero showed signs of neurological degradation, yet with no physiological explanation. His eyes responded to light at non-human frequencies. His heart rate shifted based on local magnetic field changes. More disturbing, under hypnotic regression, he described a landscape unlike anything known. A space without time. Structures floating in absolute silence. Creatures, unmoving yet aware. Everything there seemed to be waiting for something. As if time didn't pass for them. As if they were echoes of an intelligence older than creation itself. According to scientists, the place Zero described matched geometric patterns seen in gravitational resonance scans around Earth's orbit. It was as if the space he described actually existed. The Silence Order. After 6 months of analysis, Zero was declared mentally unstable. The official report cited psychosis induced by extreme isolation. But internal doctors shared something far more unsettling. He spoke while asleep. In dialects never taught. In dead languages. And at inaudible frequencies, only detectable with specialized equipment. One night, during one of these episodes, a researcher noticed something chilling. The sounds Zero made created coherent visual patterns in a spectrogram, like images embedded within the sound. These images showed perfect geometric forms, mathematically impossible to produce by chance. Days later, the project was abruptly shut down. All personnel were reassigned or silenced. The name Black Aurora was scrubbed, even from NASA's most secure servers. But some never forgot. In 2016, an anonymous email was sent to a research center in Sweden. It read, "The portal is still there. They placed something to guard it. Something not human. And if it's opened again, they will return. There are secrets hidden to protect humanity. And there are those hidden because, if uncovered, they would destroy everything you understand as real." The silent leak. In March 2024, a hacker group known as Noctis breached the servers of NASA's Ames Research Center. It wasn't the first time something like this had happened, but it was the first time the files downloaded were immediately deleted from the agency's internal network, as if someone on the inside wanted them to leak. The contents were labeled under a single code name, Epsilon File. They weren't videos. They weren't images of planets or spacecraft. They were mathematical models, quantum simulations, and reality containment protocols. At the center of the file was a set of records classified as stratified reality concept. According to the documents, the universe we perceive, with planets, stars, time, and space, is not the original structure of the cosmos. It is a layer, a controlled projection, a sensory simulation overlaid on top of something incomprehensible. The veil of perception. According to the records, in 1971, after the final manned lunar mission, NASA was contacted by an unknown source, identified only as the Sentinels. No further information about who or what these entities were. But their message was clear. Limit the reach of the human species. Do not allow them to see beyond the third layer. You are not ready. This warning led to the birth of Project Epsilon, an operation in psychocognitive engineering designed to shape humanity's collective perception of space. Satellites were programmed to deliver filtered images. Space telescopes transmitted reconstructed data, and any attempt to break through the layers, such as Project Black Aurora, was contained from within the real universe. According to Epsilon's calculations, what we call the observable universe accounts for only 3% of the total dimensional structure. The remaining layers are composed of frequencies of existence that cannot be perceived by our natural senses, but they are there, superimposed. In this new paradigm, NASA's true purpose was never to explore space. It was to keep the world inside what it could handle. The visual proof. Among the files, there was something different. A video. 32 seconds of footage captured by an experimental orbital telescope, one never publicly registered. In the video, a single point of light transforms into a perfect geometric spiral, pulsing in impossible rhythms. As the spiral turns, the image of the starry sky begins to fade. The stars vanish, and in their place, forms emerge. Living forms. Vast, ancient, still, but aware. A sentence appears in the bottom corner of the video, likely added by NASA analysts. Reality has been applied. The entities remain asleep. For now. The final protocol. At the end of the Epsilon file, one document stood out. Protocol 0. An emergency action plan to be activated if humanity crosses the imposed limits. The protocol included immediate suppression of independent observatories, sabotage of private deep space missions, total narrative control of scientific media, activation of Project Threshold, a mechanism capable of emitting a global neurosensory erasure pulse. In short, if we get too close, they'll make us forget. The final truth. Among the reports was a final note, typed in a personal tone, likely by a NASA scientist. Space isn't a void. It's a prison. Not for us, but for what lies outside. If we keep digging, if we keep exploring, we will be the ones to break the seal. Epilogue. Since the leak, the Epsilon file has vanished from the web. All members of the Noctis group were found dead, reportedly from overdoses or domestic accidents. NASA did not comment. The government denied everything. And most people simply forgot. But what you've seen here, you can't unsee. Because now you know. They didn't hide space. They hid the truth about reality itself. And the greatest lie in modern history was this: we are alone.